Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 11, Episode 41. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us this Monday, Steelers Nation. And Dave, what happened yesterday feels like a carbon copy of what happened last Sunday against the Baltimore Ravens. It was a game you get behind early in the halftime. Ben saves the day in the second half. Your defense, and specifically Minkah Fitzpatrick, makes a goal line play to end it. The only problem was this was not the Baltimore Ravens. He's with the 2-6 Dallas Cowboys, but really feels like we're on repeat this week, Dave.
Yeah, look, they're getting good at snatching victory from the jaws of defeat almost, I guess. I don't know. You look at some of the stats related to this game, and if I just got out of a coma and you showed them to me, I say, that game just went just right, like what we thought. Maybe they just didn't win by the amount of points that they thought they would win. I would ask you, what they do, miss a couple of field goals in that game or something, or something along those lines, because the stats bear out that it was a Steelers win, which it was, but obviously didn't cover the spread. And I don't know, could you kind of see this one coming? This is a team that's 6-4, I think, under Mike Tomlin in games that they are double-digit road favorites in. Look, there's no such thing as a trap game. I say that every time something like this happens, because it's not. This is the NFL. This is professional guys playing. This is one injury away from a quarterback in a game, from a game going south on you and all like that. So don't give me any of that crap about trap game, because it does not exist. You're not going to convince me. The stats bear it out otherwise. But with that said, there was really technically no reason for the Steelers to have been in a dogfight in this one, especially when you have, fourth string quarterback and Garrett Gilbert and and a defense or an offensive line that was without their center right from the get go. This thing just smelled like blowout right from the opening kickoff, and it was obviously anything but that. How was that for an opening monologue?
Yeah. Welcome to Monday, guys. Steelers, though, do get the win. They're 8-0 for the first time in franchise history. Of course, remain the NFL's only undefeated team. So that begs the question, because I agree with you, Dave, that this is not a trap game. There is no such thing as a trap game. Steelers know it's hard to win any
I'm not wrong there, right? I don't think you and I have really had a lot of the trap game discussions, though. But, this is the NFL. This isn't college, all right?
Sure.
You can sell that stuff to me college-wise.
But that begs the question, though, why was this game so close? Because obviously Pittsburgh was the heavy favorites on paper, as they should be, and they had to squeak this one down at halftime. So my opinion for why this one was so close was this was a team that looked like they just played their third straight game on the road, had just played two tough, physical, mentally draining, taxing games against Tennessee and Baltimore, and then we're coming in pretty low energy against Dallas. Not to excuse it. I know everyone's going to yell at me and say that's an excuse. I'm just saying it's an explanation. That doesn't make it acceptable. Doesn't mean they're above reproach and criticism. They should be criticized for the way they played. This game should not have been this close. But I think you just kind of had it came to a head, the physical and mental just taxing of 3 straight games on the road, which is unusual, and just how tough and physical those Titans and Ravens games were.
Yeah, it's hard to explain why this kind of things happen, But look, this is a road weary team. I don't know, maybe they are reading a little bit of their press clippings a little bit too much. But you go on a road in a situation. This is a third game in a row. You're coming off of a tough division game, obviously against the Ravens, where you pull it out late there. It's hard to put a finger on exactly why this seems to happen time in and time out. But, the fact of the matter is a win is all that matters, and that's what they got.
Right, right. Before we delve into this game more and talk about everything that happened on Sunday, I do want to circle back to some housekeeping. Some news came across on, what was this, Saturday, it would have been, with Steelers making some weekend transactions, and one in particular was surprising. Now, they made a flurry of moves, but the headlines of this one is that offensive lineman Stefen Wisniewski was released by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and just a curious situation all around where Wisniewski, of course, suffered that pectoral injury in Week 1 against the Giants, goes on IR, gets activated. Couple weeks ago, his deadline to be activated to the 53 or placed remaining on IR was earlier this week, so they activate him. He doesn't practice at all, and then he gets cut on Saturday. And so just kind of a bizarre timeline I don't have a real good explanation for, Dave.
It was it caught me by surprise that Wisniewski was they waived him there, and I think when you kind of start drilling this thing down, as to reasons maybe why. Look, we'll get a little bit more maybe clarity today. Maybe not. I mean, there's no guarantee. Here's the thing: you get to the trade deadline, everybody is once you get past that, people are all players are subject to waivers. Okay, that's the first and foremost thing that needs to be pointed out here. And when a player is put on waivers, he can obviously be claimed off of waivers. And if you claim a player off waivers, you also get their contract to go along with it. All right. So if they parted ways with Wisniewski prior to the trade deadline, it would have been a right out contract termination. Okay. So there had been no chance whatsoever for a team to assume Wisniewski's contract, and then thus the Steelers would be on the hook, and they probably will still be anyway. I wrote about this Sunday morning there. Wisniewski being a vested veteran and being as how he was on the roster Week 1, his salary is one a little bit over $1 million is fully guaranteed. Okay, now the only way you get out of that fully guaranteed, obviously, is if somebody assumes that contract there. Now they've obviously already paid him 9 weeks worth of that, so the remaining, I don't know, what is it, 400-something thousand or something along those lines, is what they're still on the hook for, almost $500,000. That's when you look at cap room left this year and cap room that this team's supposed is looking like they might have in 2021. $500,000 is nothing to just flip your nose at and say what the heck. I mean, they already took kind of a hit a few weeks ago with Colquitt, because he was another vested veteran that they had to eat a full year's worth of salary on, because they parted ways with him, and because he was on the Week 1 roster as well too. So you don't want to continue trying to throw money away if you can. Now the timing is a little bit kind of questionable there, right? He comes off of that they opened up his window a couple of weeks ago. There's obviously no reason to part ways with him then, because you have technically an exemption on him, because you don't have to activate him back. They used up the full window, got a full look at him. It makes no sense to cut him at that time anyway, because injuries obviously could happen. But in the meantime, you've got a long look at Kevin Dotson. He's looked good, right? I mean, better than when Wisniewski did in Week 1, and not even close. You've seen a handful of snaps from J.C. Hassenauer. I don't really think we've seen anything from Derwin Gray, have we, this year? Has he played any offensive snaps? I mean, he's been active a couple of games. But you obviously know a little bit more about him from practices and all like that. But you know what? I think they just got to a point where they looked what they had. They're comfortable with the depth that they had. They probably, I mean, who knows how he looked during practice. It would make sense that if they knew that they're probably going to turn him loose, not to let him practice much of anything in fear that he would injure anything. And then when you look at the one thing I waited until Saturday to see on the official transaction sheet was he waived with any kind of injury designation, okay? Because he was obviously on the injury report. He was not waived with any injury designations, which leads you to believe that he would pass a physical with any team should a team claim him there. I think this was just an instance of Alex, of them saying, look, we're good here, and we just don't have a room on the roster for you. And the timing is kind of perfect. We'll expose you to waivers, and if there's a team out there that wants to claim you, God bless them, because they'll save us $500,000 there. So that'll obviously be one of the minor things we look at going forward in Wednesday is if any team out there, and Lord knows there's a few of them that could probably use an interior veteran offensive line swing guy right now. If anybody claims Wisniewski, and if they do, well, the Steelers save $500,000. If they don't, the Steelers eat another $500,000 there, and then there's always a potential maybe that he returns should injury happen later in the season.
Yeah, there's been some speculation that maybe he comes back to the practice squad now, because obviously you can do that this year with the veteran exceptions, given the expansion of the practice squad and the rules for who's all eligible. It was just curious, just kind of strange all the way around. They could have put him, I think, back on IR if they wanted to, considering he didn't practice and he wasn't on the injury report. Maybe they couldn't. Maybe they just decided not to do that, or whatever the case was. But, I mean, overall, obviously, Wisniewski struggled mightily in Week 1 against the Giants. He was not going to be the next man up at right guard. Question is, though, could he be your next man up at center? I guess they like J.C. Hassenauer in that role more than Wisniewski, which I don't know if I would agree with, but fair enough. So we'll see where he lands on his feet. But yeah, that was certainly an interesting and surprising decision.
The thing is, if you circle him back, why would you circle him back to the practice squad right now? You got more than enough guys. Would it be just to have that one extra guy?
Yeah, I mean, you can have a veteran center interior swing guy on your practice squad, which is nice to have in case injury happens down the line.
Right. I mean, this just smells of we're done with each other, and who knows? And people say, well, though they mismanaged this thing with Wisniewski and brought him back too early, and he's injured and all like that. That's kind of jumping that's pulling out that jump to conclusions, Matt, a little bit too early there, because we really don't know, right? I mean, if indeed maybe he tweaked something early in the week or something along those lines. I mean, he didn't practice right out of the chute, did he?
No, he didn't practice at all this past week.
But he did the previous 2 weeks, as far as we know. You don't have to list a player because the player's not listed on the 53-man roster. You do not have to include him on the injury report. So all we know, maybe he was just standing around in practice. We just don't know.
Sure.
As far as that goes. So to say that the Steelers mismanaged Wisniewski, I think is a bit of a stretch, not knowing what happened during practices here. Maybe he was to the point, it's like, look, guys, are you just going to leave me? I've been ready to go for a couple of weeks here, and you're not opening up my practice window. What gives here? I want to play, Maybe that was something. There's just so much that we don't know right now, but I think the most telling point in this right now is that he was not listed with any kind of injury designation when he was waived. All right, so that would lead you to believe at least that he would pass a physical there. And then we'll see what happens. Who knows? We might be writing about this in a few more hours if a team claims him. But that's the look. You say 1 point. This is a guy that I wrote about not too long ago, saying I don't know. Maybe this is a guy that becomes a salary cap casualty in February and March. Especially the way Dotson's playing and all like that. Well, now you don't have to worry about it. They instantly saved $1.4 million against the cap in 2020 by turning him loose.
There you go. Some other roster moves to round out the flurry of moves that were made Saturday afternoon. Of course, linebacker Avery Williamson was officially added to the 53 after his roster exemption had expired, so he was officially able to join the team on Saturday. The team also released running back Trey Edmonds, which was less of a surprise. They did also sign linebacker Jay Elliott to the 53-man roster, and Antoine Brooks, the 6th-round rookie, was elevated in that practice squad elevation, and DeMarcus Christmas, the D-tackle who was in for a visit earlier this week, officially signed to the practice squad as well. So a lot of moves there, all those less significant than the Wisniewski move, but that's the status of the 53-man roster.
And just like Keith Butler told us earlier in the week, told the media earlier in the week, not expecting Avery Williamson to play against Dallas, that he was going to kind of be a break glass in case of an emergency situation. That's ultimately what happened. He did dress, but he did not play any on defense or any on special teams against the Cowboys there. So they ran with 3 linebackers there. 2 and a dime backer.
And a Marcus Allen.
Yeah, a new position, a Marcus Allen. There you go. So, and I think the tape, I think the tape's going to show in certain areas that it was just a Marcus Allen too, right? He didn't play, but I think 4 snaps in there, but not quality snaps from a total defense perspective there. But the DeMarcus Christmas addition to the practice squad kind of gives you a heads up of what to expect with Tyson Alu, who was inactive. Derek White, a little bit of a surprise scratch, I think.
Big surprise. I assume he wasn't healthy. Tomlin said he was not available, but he was never on the injury report this week.
Right. Did he do something during warm-ups maybe? Well, I don't know.
Guessing he tweaked that hamstring again. Yeah. Talk about potential cap casualties. Is Derek Watt going to be one and done? Just can't stay healthy.
25 offensive snaps to date. That's pretty expensive right now. So, people.
What's his salary next year?
Oh boy!
In terms of dead money savings or cap savings.
Yeah, I'll pull that up for you. There.
I mean, obviously it's a hamstring, and they're tricky and they're frustrating, and it's not necessarily a chronic thing. So you can't assume next year it'll be the same story. And he's played well in special teams, but if you're searching for cap space, and if Watt just hasn't provided much, I mean, Rosie Nix got cut, and they kind of bailed on him because of injuries. That was more of a history than what Watt's dealing with. But still, I mean, the guy can't get on the field, and that's kind of frustrating.
I don't know. You want to start thinking about ways to maybe save the Jujus. Is that what we're going to call it? Save the Juju. $1.75 million in base salary you would save in 2021, and he's due a roster bonus of $1 million, and that roster bonus is due on the 3rd day of the 2021 league year. So you'll find out super quick during the offseason on him. But in totality, there's $2.75 million in 2021 cap space that you could really use. And then you throw in the 1.4 that you got from Wisniewski. Who knows who might else be out the door before then. You're starting to get in that territory where maybe you can afford a first-year cap charge for Juju, right?
Yeah, or somebody else, Filer, Villanueva, whoever they want to retain. So I think that's certainly on the table. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. Hopefully Watt is able to get out there at some point. I can't predict it right now because that hamstring's just not cooperating, behaving, as Tomlin may say. But other inactives included Alu, as you said, Dave, with that MCL sprain. Mike Hilton also missed his 3rd straight game, came into that game doubtful with that shoulder injury, and the rest were the usuals, Dobbs, Gentry, and Duran Gray, round out the Steelers inactive list.
All right, are we done walking through the minutia?
I think we're finally done. All right, let's get back into the game, Dave, and I'm hesitant to do so because that first half was so rough. All right, what do you want to start here, offense, defense, or the godforsaken special teams?
I tell you, they sure did a good job of spreading the blame around.
Misery loves company, and the Steelers unit said, "Well, I'll join in on the fun."
I don't know. I guess we can go offense and kind of I don't know, try to at the same time work through the game. Because
sure.
There were various highs and lows of it for sure.
Yeah, that first half, though, mostly lows, unfortunately. And it was just, again, this is so much of what happened in the Baltimore game where they struggled in the trenches, both offensive line, defensive line. The run game was non-existent, whether you're looking at a yards per carry metric or you're looking at a successful run rate. I don't have that number, but I promise you it was not a good number. If you have it, Dave, feel free to share it. And the passing offense went nowhere in the first half, and it wasn't until the Steelers went back to their 0-1 personnel, 4-receiver set, that this offense saw any sort of success. Anytime they tried to go tight and run the ball or do anything out of heavier personnel, they couldn't go anywhere. And when they finally spread things out, let Ben, again, like last week, run the show, they found success. So very much a replay of what happened against Baltimore, against a much, much worse Cowboys defense.
Let's see here. I'm showing for James Conner alone. I'm showing 3 successful runs. Out of how many did he have?
9 carries, so 33%.
Yeah. Not good. And short yardage was miserable. Not sure what you have Anthony McFarland in there all of a sudden. I mean, obviously Benny Snell didn't do anything on his short yardage carry, which I believe was 1. Really, the only short yardage conversion I think that you had in that game was early on that first drive, right? When you had James Conner. I think that was one of James Conner's successful runs. 3rd and 1 with 12:21 left in the first first frame there. I believe that was it. They could not convert short yardage. The thing that stuck out, and which I kind of called for, and I think you did as well too, a lot of pre-snap motion, kind of figured that would be what they would do in this game, a lot of, and boy, they sure opened up with a lot of it. I think 5 or 6 plays, something like that, pre-snap motion on the opening drive, and I'm thinking to myself, "Whoo, we're going to hit that 25 number, going to be a big number there." But the fact of the matter was they could not, they run some split flow zone, and just all the staples they normally run, kind of run that counter and pulling to the right side with Fido. They had no success really whatsoever outside of maybe a run or two on the ground in the running game.
Yeah, I mean, Benny Snell had a very Jerome Bettis stat line minus the touchdowns of 3 carries, 1 yard. They played McFarland more, which I wanted to see more McFarland in this game. I thought his speed could be an asset against the Cowboys front that is not particularly fast, especially those linebackers, but he had 3 carries for 7 yards. Connor, 9 for 22, but the line just didn't really give any sort of a push. Pouncey, Filer, Okorafor got blown up on that one, failed 4th and 1 play. So did Filer. He lost his block. So there really just was no one winning the point of attack. Now, credit to the Cowboys. They definitely played this game of let's sell out to stop the run. Let's play heavier fronts. I think Tony Romo did a good job of breaking that one down. But still, the Steelers just did not have the physicality in the trenches, and they just got dominated at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and obviously we haven't looked at the all-22 yet, but just from the tape alone, you can see instances where Pouncey and DeCastro and all the interior guys didn't have a good game. Okorafor, run blocking is not grade's probably not going to look pretty. I don't know who was the best or the worst of the bunch, and I honestly, just from at first blush at going through just the TV tape one extra time, I think Alejandro Villanueva, who had his worst game of the season, I think was still probably the best of the 5 overall. And that tells you.
Yeah. Because it felt like it was his worst game of the year. Gregory definitely, I thought maybe DeCastro was the best of the bunch, the best of the worst. But regardless, I mean, no one played particularly well. And that's what happens. I mean, this team the last 3 weeks, Dave, I think is averaging 3.2, 3.3 yards per carry. I don't know what the run success rate there is, but I'm sure it's not that great either. And so this has now become 3 straight games where this offense has been not only one-dimensional without a run game, but very one-dimensional in that really the only thing that's working in the pass game is Ben running the show and this 0-1 personnel. So it's a very niche thing that's working right now for this offense, and I think we're seeing this now more than just one game, and that is starting to be some cause for concern.
The success rates up until I think these last couple games, I think we got 2 games in a row now that we're looking at kind of scratching our head when it comes to success rates here.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it started there. They ran the ball well. I mean, they were closing out games, 4-minute offense the first couple weeks of the season, but lately it's been going the other way.
The other thing, too, is, they're barely running in the second half because they're behind the last couple games, obviously. They're just not getting the successful, the big runs early to feel any kind of confidence. And then you throw in there those hated second and long runs in there that obviously, I mean, you need 5 yards for those to be successful if it's 2nd and 10, right. And they're not getting those run rates there. And then when you throw in that, what was it, 3 or 4 of these runs were short yardage runs, which I think that's the biggest concern coming out of this game, Alex, to be honest with you. Not so much that they couldn't get the regular run success rate going in this game, is the fact that the short yardage run success rate was like, I don't know what I put, 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 or something like that. I mean, you just can't have that. If you're going 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 3rd and 2, 4th and 2, those kind of things, if you're going to run, you got to get those. I mean, in the story. And I think maybe, and obviously, like I said, the end zone tape will show us a lot more about the blocking and all like that. To me, that's the most discouraging part, really, about the run game. Without seeing the all-22 right now, is just not being able to convert in those short yardage situations. You just got to have those, in those situations. And I kind of question McFarland being in there for what was it, 1 or 2 of those.
Yeah, I mean, it was best or really worst summed up early in the second quarter. They go 2nd and 2. McFarland a run for 1. 3rd and 1. McFarland in the game, which I think they were going tempo on that one. So maybe that's why they didn't sub. But McFarland 3rd and 1, no gain. And then Dallas calls a timeout. 4th and 1. Benny Snell gets stuffed. That's when Fowler and a core 4 got blown up on that play. And yeah, just no success, short yardage. And it just made this team very one-dimensional. And that is obviously because again, the Cowboys had one of the worst run defenses in football. Baltimore is one story. They're a good run defense. They're a tough run. I can understand that. But against Dallas, I mean, that's just not acceptable. That's not a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then second half was, the same story as last week. You go a one personnel, you spread things out. Ben picks them apart. That was all they ran on the game-winning drive, the Eric Ebron touchdown. So you put the ball in the game in Ben's hands, and he makes plays. And it's again the same story as last week. I'll be repeating that a lot this episode.
And it was, even still clunky in other aspects of it too. Until really that very late drive, really after the penalties, and I think you even broke that down on the site this morning, the film room. I mean, look, the first 2 or 3 plays of that game weren't great, right?
Right, they would have gone 3 and out had they not had the roughing the passer not been called there. I mean, they got bailed up by the penalty, no doubt.
Right, and then that's when they really started to hit their stride. What was after that? And Ben, once again, say what you will about the deep ball. Say what you will about that kind of first one down the right hand side to Claypool. Was it pass interference? Should have been called? Quite possibly. You're not going to get an argument out of me. But even so, he still had a chance to maybe make that catch. It hit his hands, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that should have been a touchdown. I know he got pushed. There should have been a flag, but I'm not complaining about that. That should have been a touchdown for Claypool. I mean, Claypool did not have a particularly good game this week.
How much does the game complexion? You hate to sit here and what if kind of scenario, but it did cross my mind. How much does the complexion of that game change, or does it change any if Claypool catches that and waltzes into the end zone?
I mean, I would like to think it changes. I mean, you hit a big play early and kind of, get things going your way. I mean, obviously, I think it would have changed it to some pretty decent extent.
What I write? He was like 2 of 6 on deep passes in this game. Fortunately, the 2 that he did hit were touchdowns. A nice, once again, that and both of them I think had the patented Ben Roethlisberger pump fake, right? The James Washington. I don't know what the heck that corner bit on the underneath there, and once again we see a wide open James Washington for his only catch and 17 yards I think on that one, and then the other deep one was down the middle to Juju on a night. I haven't seen that route in it. Was that corner post or what?
No, I think it was designed to break back inside. I think it was just stemming to the outside. I mean, I'll have to look at it again, maybe the all-22 view. I mean, it was a beautiful route to get that corner, or whoever the DB was, to open up and turn him around. Absolutely. So I don't know if it was designed to be that intentional of a post-corner post or a post-corner, something like that, but it was just a great route.
Was that quarters on that? How do you get beaten quarters if that?
I'm not sure. I don't even know what the coverage was there, but I mean, Juju's making so many clutch plays over the middle of the field, finishing that play. I mean, he's playing great football these last 3 weeks.
I mean, he caught. I think one of the things too, and this has been a common theme with him, especially this year, is yards after not only yards after catch, but tough yards after catch. Maybe maybe we just create a new stat, a new metric there. This guy is just not only getting yak, he's getting hard fight. Him and James Washington, the same. Deontay Johnson's getting his different kind of yak, the breaking ankle yak. We'll talk about here in a minute, I'm sure. But what can you say about a guy like Juju in that situation? Not only does he catch the ball at the 8, which was a big play in and of itself, that you're probably hitting the ceiling when he catches that, but he gets through 2 other guys to get into the end zone for a much needed touchdown, obviously, in that situation there. So a good play design all the way around. I think Ben with a little bit of a pump on that, and really, a guy like Juju, you don't really think about when you think about him. You don't superior route running does not come to mind, right? I mean, he's a good route runner, but he's not an elite route runner. But I thought he really did a good job of stemming that one out and stepping on the toes of the defensive back and getting him to open the gate up, which left the middle of the field open.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a really great route and great play. I did a video last week for Steelers Depot that said about all the clutch plays Juju's been making on third down and red zone and over the middle the last couple weeks. And yesterday was a continuation of that. Dave, I'm just looking at the box score of this game. I mean, if you had told me the Steelers did not turn the ball over once in this game when they were +2 in turnover ratio, I mean, what would you predict the score of this game would have been if I just gave you those numbers alone?
Yeah, look, Alex, like I said at the top of the show, if I'm coming out of a coma and you just show me the game book, just the game book, and not the play-by-play, I'm telling you that they definitely won. And then I would be a little bit surprised that you tell me that they only that it wasn't close to a cover, because that you look at I hate to bring it up. You bring up the adjusted net yards for passing attempt stat. I think the Steelers were over 8. That might have been their highest number per game for the game this season. All right, and then the defensive number was under 5, which it damn sure didn't feel like it throughout the game. You show me those two numbers alone in the differential between the two, and I'm telling you, I think that's a Steelers cover. I think they covered the 14.5 or whatever in that situation. You win the turnover battle. Obviously, the explosive plays ended up being the determining factor in this one, because if you look at the TOC stat, which is turnovers and explosive plays, the Cowboys were making it up on the back end with the explosive plays until you get into that the fourth quarter there, when the Steelers hit a couple big ones, not only a couple big ones, but I think a double explosive one in there to Deontay Johnson as well.
Yeah, it was that, and it was the Cowboys hurting themselves with penalties. I mean, how many timely penalties went the Steelers' way? Whether that was the roughing the passer call that kept the game-winning drive alive for Pittsburgh, whether that was the fumble by Ben that was negated by the illegal contact or PI, whatever the call was against Chase Claypool or on Chase Claypool, called on. I think it was Jalen Smith.
Is there a player that had a worse fourth quarter in that game than Jalen Smith?
Yeah, he's having a really tough year overall. So if you don't have those fortunate penalties for the Steelers, then they probably don't win this one, to be honest with you.
What'd you think about the illegal contact penalty? Ticky-tack or right call?
It seemed questionable. I mean, it felt like they just got their feet tangled up. Maybe I didn't get a great look at it. I haven't gone back and studied it super closely, but that one felt like it could have easily not been called.
That happened during the fumble, right? So I mean, that you weren't talking about a huge play in the game,
right? Because as they're running that one back, I'm thinking, okay, this game's over. They're going to lose this game.
And that was a huge run. And obviously, look, the right one obviously too was. I mean, you can't hit a guy, can't hit the quarterback in the helmet like that. I mean, that was there was no question about that one there. And both those penalties on Jalen Smith. So and that, and boy, how many penalties right in a row there too. How stupid of Van Der Esch, and the extra 15 yards on the tackle of McFarland as well too. So you got to be disciplined late in games, close games like that. And the Cowboys defense obviously wasn't. And 3 penalties there within a matter of how many plays was that? I mean, that huge turning point in the game.
And I would like to say that Randy Gregory's personal foul, whatever that call was at the end of that extra point, was impactful end of the touchdown, I think, to Juju, but it didn't go well in the ensuing kickoff. That's might be the longest kickoff on a kick from the 50.
Pooch,
yeah. I mean, ever. I mean, we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. But, credit to McFarland, too, for keeping his cool and not throwing a punch back and being smart about that for a rookie. That's kudos to him.
Yeah, the yards after catch, what I put up there, 175 or something. The Steelers had yards after catch in that game, obviously huge. All of them, really. I mean, and Washington, of course, only had the one catch, and I think McLeod. What did McLeod have? 1 or 2 catches in that game. McDonald only, I think, had the one catch there, but everybody else, Claypool, Juju, obviously, and Deontay Johnson. Huge amount of yak in that game. And that ended up being really one of the key difference makers, especially in the fourth quarter of that game there. So these are guys that you can get away with, because if you look at, once again, if you look at the advanced metrics when it comes to Ben's passing game, ball out, I think well under 2.5 .25 seconds in this game, probably the quickest snap to release time in week 9. His average completed target distance was like 4-point-something yards. Right, not. Probably going to be one of the lower ones in the league again in week 9. So that lets you know right there, with the amount of yards that he threw up in the game, that a lot of it came via yak. So when you have guys that can catch and run like the Steelers obviously did, especially in the second half of that game, well, that helps kind of straighten things out. And we all know how impactful explosive plays are, and they got some key ones at the right time in that fourth quarter. And as you mentioned, those penalties, explosive penalties, if you will, those helped out too.
Is that our new stat? Explosive penalties and grit yards?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, those made a huge difference. Am I right?
Sure. Oh, 100%. Yeah, they were absolutely massive in Pittsburgh's favor in this game. Dallas penalized 7 times, 70 yards. Pittsburgh just 3 times. That was one of the difference makers in the stats in this game. Just overall, Dave, I mean, obviously the Baltimore game was just one game against a really good defense. You're just happy to kind of really get out there with a victory no matter how you had to get it. But 2 weeks in a row, it felt like, again, and I'll keep repeating this point, the only offense that was successful was this 0-1 personnel, no huddle-ish, kind of Ben running the show. Is that a concern that 2 weeks now, that's been really your only source of productivity?
Yeah, sure it is. But I mean, let's not lose sight of the fact too that there are certain other elements that, I mean, there were a couple of drops in this game early. I mean, we mentioned the Claypool early deep one. The other deep ball down the other side. There's 2 defenders there. I'm not sure what he saw on that to deliver that one. But I think didn't Claypool have another drop in this game at one point? I think it was in the second half, maybe, though.
There were some low throws that could have been caught, should have been caught, that he didn't come up with.
And let's face it, Ben was not sharp in the first half either. One behind Claypool and one behind Deontay Johnson, which wasn't that one to Deontay on maybe a third down?
I can't remember. You're probably right. Yeah, Ben's accuracy.
He kind of lollipopped it, probably definitely should have led Deontay a little bit more on that one, threw it behind him, and he didn't have a chance on that. And I think another one was off target to Chase Claypool over on the left side. Another one, I think, over on the left side, I forget who threw that one. Maybe it was Ben, a little bit high on that one. That Claypool kind of, I think, bailed him out on that one as well too. So when you mix in, you're not running the ball well coming out of shooting these last 2 games. Ben hasn't been sharp out of the shoot in both these games so far. And then you're getting behind on the scoreboard. I think it's setting you up to have to use the 0-1 personnel the way it is. So I don't know. What do you need to do? Do you need to come out and open up in 0-1? Just move down the field a couple times that way to get things to get the to get the lubed up or whatnot?
I have 2 thoughts. I mean, one, I think that obviously it's been effective, and Ben's been able to make basically win these games, and that's fine. But is it sustainable enough to take you where you want to go? Is this method gonna beat the Chiefs or win you multiple playoff games? I kind of doubt it. So this is not sustainable necessarily. And then 2, I think they shouldn't use this 0-1 personnel as only their break glass in case of emergency package, because a lot of emergencies the last 2 weeks. And so I think Juju made a reference to it, like, let's come out and open in some of this stuff. Let's not do this when we feel like we have to. Let's do it as early in the game, in the first half when the game's closed, as part of maybe our script or something like that. So I think they better expand this package, because clearly it's been the most and really only successful thing about this offense the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it feels obviously. Yeah, you're right. The last 2 games definitely feels like you're walking on the hot coals and you're lucky not to get burned. That it's not sustainable to do that week in, week out. You can't. You're going to have something happen with a pass. Ben does not need to be throwing the football over 40 times a game.
Right. And it's not just the fact that you're putting the ball in Ben's hands because you're Hall of Fame quarterback. I'm all for it, but it's one personnel grouping that's only working, and that's the crazy part. I mean,
what if you lose one of those guys? mid
Yeah,
game.
exactly, right. Or teams are going to figure out how to defend it now that if you put it on tape enough. So, it's not just okay. The run game isn't working, but the pass game overall is working. It's a subsection of the pass game is the only thing that seems to be working right now, and it is working, and it's getting you wins. But is that sustainable? I doubt it.
I think one play that's going to get swept underneath the rug that was probably one of the key plays in that game was that third down conversion where he swapped Juju and was it Ebron?
Yeah.
And
he hit Juju on that play. No,
right.
Wasn't it he swapped Ebron and Claypool, didn't he? And then he hit Juju on the over.
Right. That's it. He swapped Claypool and Ebron, and then hit Juju on the over down the middle. Yeah.
I wonder why he swapped him. I don't know. I wonder what he saw.
Maybe just to see what the response would be. I think.
Yeah. That's a good point. They've run that over out to Juju a couple of times, and it's been successful. And so, I think that's a great point. That was a huge play.
How many yards? That was 30-something yards, was it not?
It was at least 20-something. I don't know exactly what the yardage on that one was, but it was third down. It was a big play, and that was a good throw and catch.
I mean, I think that one's going to be. Hold on, let me find it on the stat sheet right here. That was a third and. Let's see if I can find it. That was a 3rd and 10, right? Pass short, right for 20 yards. Was that it in the third quarter? Or was there another one later in the game?
What's the timestamp on that play?
I
don't know what you're looking at.
Let me see. Let me go back up here. That was 128 in the third.
Yeah.
Was that it?
I'm pretty sure that was it.
Let me see if I can find another third down here. I don't think.
And that set up Juju's touchdown a couple plays later to start the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that was it. If you don't convert there, 3rd and long, especially when they went down and scored a touchdown on that drive, I think that's going to be a play that not a lot of people talk about, and I think that was one of the biggest plays of the game.
To round out the offense, Dave, let's talk about some of the injuries. Obviously, Ben getting hurt with that left knee injury in the late in the first half. Took a pretty hard shot from a couple Cowboys players. He stayed in the rest of the game to throw the touchdown to James Washington that went to the locker room, and that brought Mason Rudolph out after the Minka Fitzpatrick fumble recovery that Cam Sutton popped out. Ben, I think Dr. Mel said she thought maybe MCL. Obviously not enough to knock him out of the game. He was obviously hurting. He said after the game his knee would be fine, but I'm sure he'll be playing in some pain the next couple of weeks.
It looked like it hurt like hell, and I mean, most definitely. And you just have all those flashbacks, man. Those flashbacks. I mean, if you follow this team closely and been old enough to do so since Ben came into the league in 2004. The helicopters are flying up.
Yeah, some Nom Bryce Patty flashbacks.
Oh no, not again. Kind of thing.
Weren't you getting excited about the Ben injury report that metric ESPN released where you have injury reports on all quarterbacks?
Oh Lord, yeah.
You can add another to the list.
Yeah.
That's what you get for being excited about that stuff.
Yeah. Look, I mean, fine or not, that hurt. I don't know how it's going to impact him moving forward. I mean, he seemed to move around okay. I don't know how much adrenaline or shot he had gotten. He's not practicing on Wednesday, I'll tell you that. Not that he would anyway.
Not on Thursday.
It might not do much on Thursday either there. But I mean, you just shrug it off, I guess, right? I mean,
in classic Ben fashion, though, he stays in the drive, he throws a touchdown, and then he just plays well the rest of the game. I mean, the injuries make him stronger somehow. It's just very classic Ben limping around and throwing 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. But then Mason Rudolph comes in for the end of the half because Ben was in the locker room, and the Mason Rudolph experience, while limited, was not a fun one, Dave.
I think a little bit harder on him than maybe you should be. I mean, I didn't like the velocity on the out throw right to start. It just felt a little bit lax on that. It felt like he thought that he had more cushion. I think he completed it, right?
He did for like 2 yards to Claypool. I don't know. He threw 4 passes. I don't think any of the 4 were good. One should have been picked. One was
over
floated.
the middle. I mean, the little settle underneath the middle. There was nothing wrong with that. The biggest one obviously was the one that he threw back towards the middle of the field that got deflected and then caught, and then obviously a penalty on that play, which I think wiped everything out. Right. So.
Yeah, that was the offsetting penalties, I believe. But that was not a good decision, not a good throw, and the Steelers got incredibly lucky on that play.
Right.
I mean, again, very, very small sample size, but that was not, and it's tough off the bench. I get that 2-minute drill situational football, but not.
I didn't think he wanted to be on your loser list.
I mean, he almost threw a pick that would have took points off the board at halftime. I think in four pass attempts, you throw like 3 pretty bad throws and 1 check down.
Yeah, but Ben almost had 2 picks too, right? I mean,
yeah, well, Ben won you the game. Mason did not win you the game,
right? But I mean, I think you're a little bit results.
Well, we judge quarterbacks on results, right?
Right.
I didn't even judge it on results. Obviously, the one was completed. I mean, that wasn't a result. That was a terrible processing where he's throwing it over the middle. It gets tipped, and thankfully, it gets caught by Juju on the way down. That's not a results thing. That's a good result. Minus the penalty, that's just a really bad process.
My biggest thing was just the first throw over to the right side that he made. It was like, you need to put more on that,
Yeah, I mean, it just these backup quarterbacks, they get limited opportunities, and you got to show something in limited chances. I get it's tough. It's not fun to be in that situation. It's difficult to come in cold off the bench and play well in that moment. But just not good there from Rudolph, and hopefully we don't have to see him again. But if we do, hopefully you get better results.
Well, the thing is, and I think I caught a peek at somebody already in the email machine here, was the fact that can they get what's going to happen with or I think it's something like, can the Mason Rudolph experience be over with or something like that. You might as well get used to liking it because the team's not going to do anything at the backup quarterback situation the rest of the season. All right. A. B. I'll be shocked if they draft one in the first 2 rounds. Even if they do draft one, that player's not going to supplant anybody right out of the chute to be the backup in 2021, and they're not going to have any money to go out and spend anything on a veteran guy other than a minimum salary guy to be the veteran number 2 or number 3. So you're stuck with Mason Rudolph for the rest of this season and probably all of 2021, and then you can worry about what this team's going to do after that, because obviously Mason's contract will be up after that, and way things looking right now, with Ben probably going to continue to play, and you're not obviously not going to throw any money at Mason based on what you've seen so far. So get used to Mason Rudolph coming in off the bench right now.
Yeah, for this year, that's probably how it's going to be. I wonder for next year, though, just if Dobbs were to push him again, assuming Dobbs is still around. Obviously, that's next year talk, but just a thought.
I mean, you obviously open it up during camp, but I mean, I can't see it, Alex.
Yeah, anyway, the focus is on Ben, and thankfully he's healthy, or fine is a relative term with Ben, but he was available and played and should play against the Bengals next week, and that's all that matters. Any other final thoughts for this offense, Dave? Good, bad, or ugly?
I thought Ebron had some impactful catches in the second half that are probably, obviously the touchdown one will be remembered. Nice leap over there for the score on that one. But I thought a couple of those out routes over there were impactful catches. I mean, nothing that's going to jump out on the stat sheet or on the actual replay of it. But I like what he did in those situations there. I thought he had some key catches in there. Once Claypool got moving, he's hard to defend on them slants, man. I mean, one thing that you didn't really get to see a lot of when you watch his Notre Dame tape was him really play against a lot of press stuff, and have to run those quick slants off of it. He's got a very good ability to get off and swat the defender off of him and get a little separation there on those kind of things. And I think he's kind of mad at himself for not kind of breaking one of those somewhere in that second half there. And the only other thing I will say was a little bit of a criticism of him going out of bounds right ahead of the 2-minute warning there on the catch over the right side. Now, obviously I don't think they had scored at that point, but I took a little bit of issue with him not going down, at least letting that clock run down to the 2-minute point at that point.
Wait, what point of the game? End of the game? Or another half?
Let me see if I can find it for you here exactly here. I think it was before. I'm trying to think where it happened at. It was the play before the touchdown to Ebron. 2:24, 1st and 10, Dallas 13. Pass short right to Claypool, and he allowed himself to get pushed out of bounds to stop the clock ahead of the 2-minute warning.
Okay, I got you.
Now, obviously, they still needed a touchdown there, and I guess the counter argument to that would be, they need as much time on the clock as they can get before the 2-minute warning there. But you're already deep in the red zone at that point. Don't you want to assume that the touchdown's coming? Mm-hmm. And then you use up as much clock time as possible there. So I think that was one thing that got me right there. And then obviously the next play they scored on the pass to Ebron there. And then the end of the clock stuff. I mean, where do you want to talk about bypassing the field goal?
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I was also going to mention with Claypool that end around, that jet play they ran with him on that 3rd and 5 before the failed 4th and 1, which is what the play we're going to talk about next. And I think Claypool tweeted after the game, "I'm never sliding again." And you know that was very much like week 1 where the coach just said, you got to stay in bounds. You can't let the clock keep running. And so he went down to stay in bounds. But I'm guessing he is confident he could have picked up that first down had he not slid. And when you're 6'4", 230, I'm going to trust that guy to get that extra yard as opposed to sliding down in bounds.
Yeah, would have saved all of us a couple of years off of our life if he gets the first down there, right? I mean, game's over.
I think that's coaches telling him, that the clock is more important than the first down.
Is it?
Well, in the sense of, like, they're really harping on, you better stay in bounds. Whatever you do, you better stay in bounds, let the clock run. And that's what prevented him from getting the first down. I'm not saying they're specifically saying, like, the first down's not important here. It is, but they're prioritizing the clock more so than the first down.
Yeah, be interesting to look at the different views of that play, right?
Yeah, well, it was the same thing that happened against the Giants in week 1 when they ran that around with him. But anyway, it led to that 4th and 1, and would I kick the field goal there? I think I would have to make it an 8-point game. I understand why they didn't because of the issues they've had with the field goal operation, and then just the execution. That 4th and 1 was miserable. They run power, which I get, but not my favorite thing to do on 4th and 1. But McDonald, DeCastro block the same guy. Connor has nowhere to go, and you lose 4 somehow on 4th and 1. I mean, that's pretty remarkably bad. I
tweeted out right after, living in his fears. This is the NFL, man. You can't. Barry and all those guys have been together for a long time, and yeah, the Cowboys have had success, blah blah blah, and all that. But I mean, that's a chip shot, man.
That does not bode well for my boy Danny Smith over there.
You send your kicker out to make a 59. Hats off to that, but you're not going to send him out to with the game on the line to put it away. Not only him, but the rest of the unit. Mm-hmm. In that situation. Boy, we would be really talking about if had they come down and won that game.
Yep.
That's very, very results by that thing will get talked about some, I'm sure. But it really would be magnified if you bypass that, they go down and score.
Mm-hmm. You're right. It would have been results bias, and I'm probably looking at it through the scope of a little bit of results bias because if they converted
I think they should have kicked it.
Ball.
I mean, plain and simple. I would have. My view is you got to put what's happened behind you at that point and say, look, these guys are paid. What we have a special teams field goal unit to go out and make a field goal in this situation. And if you can't do it on the road in this situation, and I'm not talking about it being a 59-yarder or any at that point. If you can't get those guys to go out there and people block that up and make that field goal, then what does that say?
Yeah, well, it's not about Boz because they trust Boz to make the kick. They didn't trust the line to block it up.
They didn't trust all of them because look, he missed an extra point. He had one block. So it's a cumulative. It's not just balls, but he is part of it.
Sure, that's fair. But they just didn't trust Pittsburgh to make the adjustments to prevent them leaping over the center or something like that. Again, I understand the reasons to go for it because. If it's obviously you pick it up at that's ball game, you don't have to put the Cowboys defense back out or Cowboys offense back out on the field. And even if you don't get it, there's 40 seconds left. Dallas is inside their own 20, and then with no timeouts, needing a touchdown, you do trust your defense to make a play there. So it wasn't the worst decision in the world, but I probably would have kicked the field goal. And the fact that they didn't speaks volumes about the lack of confidence in their coaching staff and their players to execute.
It's not the end of the world decision, but
No.
I would have rolled them out there to kick that.
Yeah. So fun way to end that one because I thought the game was over. I was all excited. I was like, Cam Hayward gets the sack. You're running the clock out.
But I guess too. Let's look at what they win by 5.
Mm-hmm.
It's still one possession game though, right?
Right, and that's the incentive to go for it.
Right. So
just
if
call ball game.
What does the bot say on that? Do you know?
Oh, that's a good question. I did not see what the bot said. Because either way, if you kick a field goal or if you go for it on 4th down, you don't get it. Your defense has to make a play regardless. Your defense has to prevent a touchdown from being scored. Obviously, a field goal, they would need a touchdown in a 2-point conversion. But either way, you're asking your defense to make one last stop if you kick the field goal or if you don't convert on 4th down. And, of course, if you do convert, then the game's over.
I don't know. Maybe we're wrong on this, Alex. Did I just say that?
I think we have to end the podcast now.
Uh-oh. Wait a minute. I'm going to have to edit that out.
What's the bot say?
Let me scroll down and kind of find it here. Let's see.
And that's why I said I do feel a little results biased with it because again, if they make it, I say great call, way to be aggressive. Don't let your defense have to make another play. So again, I get why they did it. The execution was terrible. The blocking was terrible. I don't know if I love running power on that play, but it was not a terrible call. Probably not what I would have done.
That was a 4th down, right?
Yeah, 4th and 1.
I'm not. Let's see, 4th and 8. Let's see. Gilbert sacked. When was he sacked? When was Gilbert sacked in the game?
Only twice. The Hayward, the 4th and 8, the before the Steelers' final drive, 145.
Right. I don't think they have. They don't have that decision up here on
really?
on that Ben Baldwin one.
I mean, I'm guessing the percentage just say go for it.
I wonder why he skipped that one. Yeah, we'll tweet at him to have him run that one through the bot there. Man, he's got everything else in here broken down. I don't know. I mean, when you look at it from the score aspect, right? I mean, it's understandable.
Yeah, I mean, I get why he did it. I mean, the fact that field goal unit had struggled, obviously, and obviously the situation of if you get the 1st down, it's game. So again, not a terrible call. I'm not killing Tomlin for this one.
If it's yeah, we'll research it. I don't know. We might be wrong on that. Maybe the analytics say to go for it.
Yeah. All right, Dave. Let's flip over to the Steelers defense, and again, just lost the battle of the trenches. I didn't think the energy was high, the physicality wasn't high, the tackling was poor, and you just felt like this defense was really tired. And again, not an excuse, but they played a lot of football. They've been on the field a lot these last couple of weeks. It's been physical. It's been tough, and they looked exhausted out there, Dave.
Yeah, they did. They gave up the one thing that you can't give up when you have a fourth string quarterback in there, explosive plays either on the ground or through the air. You know, it's one of the keys that I put. You know, obviously, look, it's big in every game, right? Explosive plays, but man, you can't let teams like that have any life like that. You know, it's much easier to give up the 12-yard 3rd and 10 than it is to give up an explosive play, in my opinion. There, but some question, you know, it's like they just thought they could play some zone in certain situations in here and leave their base defense out in a lot of situations. And the Cowboys, from what I saw, pat on the back to them, they were aggressive, especially in early down situations, bringing out 11 personnel situations against. They weren't afraid to run 11 kind of personnel, I think, against the Steelers base in early down situations and throw in it.
I'm sorry, what are you saying? The Cowboys went 11 personnel against the Steelers base? Is that
right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the Steelers respond to what the offense brings out. So they were choosing to go in base against 11, and all that was in an effort to stop the run, which they didn't really do. And then obviously that put you in a lot of zone coverage because you can't man up in those situations, and then you got linebackers on receivers, and that hurts you a whole lot, I thought.
Right, and people are going to say, why? What's the response you give them? Why is Bud Dupree and T.J. Watt covering these receivers?
Yeah, well, I mean, when you decide
you have your base
play,
out there.
Right, yeah. When you're in base against 11 personnel, you have to play more zone, and you get these linebackers on receivers. So that was the reason why you saw some of those mismatches, was the Steelers' decision to stay in base against some passing personnel, all in an effort to stop the run. Remember Keith Butler all week saying, got to stop 21, got to stop 21, and then Gilbert and those very talented receivers. And I made the comment on Friday, and I know that Butler, obviously he's taking these receivers seriously, but he was saying like Zeke and Pollard, those are the top two guys in their offense. And I'm going, they got some good receivers too. Cooper, Lamb, Gallup, those guys can make plays. Like, you got to take those guys seriously, even given their quarterback situation. So the effort was just all out on the run, which he did not stop. And then the passing game, they got carved up pretty good.
I think crushing too is third. There were certain third and fourth down situations with them that the Cowboys ran on. A couple of them were with the Steelers dime in there
on the same drive,
and they got it. That just can't happen.
Well, the one they were short, there was a 3rd and 5 they converted, and I think a 3rd and 9 where Zeke got 8.5. Did they kick the field goal on that, or did they go for it?
Yeah,
Remember the sequence on that? But yeah, they were in dime, and they ran on it. And I got to give Dallas credit for this as well, because the Steelers had their overfront out there again, and I've talked about all year their overfront's been so successful, no one's been able to run on it. But one of the things that I said, because I get asked, well, how do you defend the overfront? If you're the opposing offense, what do you do? And I said, well, you got to run away from the run away from Cam Hayward on the tight end. And Dallas did. On at least 2 plays, they ran weak side, which is the way you're going to beat the overfront. Run away from the strength, run to your weak side, because you can't run on Cam Hayward on a tight end. And Dallas did at least twice. I think one went for 20 with Pollard, and another might have went for 20 with Zeke or Pollard. And so Dallas adjusted well, and Pittsburgh did not.
And then you have some guys I don't think the Steelers should cut T.J. Watt, but him guessing sometimes and cutting inside and leaving that edge unmanned resulted in an explosive play too.
Yeah, edge contained both as a pass rush unit and run defense was really poor. Where either you didn't have guys on the edges, where you had guys that were freelancing too much, Watt to it come to mind, and they got burned on it quite a bit.
No, I don't want T.J. Watt cut. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think you do now. I think right. you have to say that.
Some of the tackling obviously suspect. Cameron Sutton really had overall, I think, a good game. Punched out, definitely a big play in punching that ball out, forcing one of the turnovers there, but let another one, let a tackle or two, I think, go through his hands on one situation there. Some of those fills by Spillane are going to be interesting to look at, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't think the front 7 overall did not do a good job getting off blocks, staying clean. The guards are working to the second level, picking up and teeing off on these linebackers. I mean, it was just bad, but they were tired. I mean, you look at the snap count for this game. Your depth gets exposed. You got some young guys trying to step in. What are the numbers here? Tua played 89% of the snaps. Hayward 89% of the snaps. I mean, they played 90% of the snaps last week. Watt and Bud played 92 and 97% of the snaps. I mean, these guys are just worn down. I'm not excusing it. They're not above criticism. They're going to be criticized for mental mistakes and stuff like that, but they are just a tired group right now.
Yeah, you miss you have Henry Mondeau kind of fall off of one of those sacks there. Just not able to finish on some of those. For certain, allowed some drives. Look, a lot of popcorn, as Mike Tomlin like that. A lot of popcorn in that game. The touchdown to Cooper. Another instance of a linebacker that looked like, I haven't seen the All-22, and I asked you about this last night. It looked like cover 6, but it looked more than anything. The most concerning part on that was it looked like quarters on the field side of that. And then how does explain the matchup zone situation there of how. Even though that might be quarters on that side, how Watt ends up having to run.
Yeah, I mean, in quarters coverage, Hayden got pulled deep by another vertical route down the seam, and so Watt's in the flat, and as his receiver goes up, he's going to match with him, at least try to, and go vertical, but obviously now you have T.J. Watt on Amari Cooper, and was that Cooper? Or was that Lamb?
Oh, Lamb, I'm sorry.
Was that Lamb? Okay, yeah, but it regardless does not make the matchup any better. CD Lamb now is on T.J. Watt, and he's just not able to carry that, and it's just a tough spot to be in. And that's why, some of that's not spot drop, I don't think, because they were carrying it, but some of that zone coverage, Again,
does that become matchup at like 12 yards or something?
Yeah, I think it's just you're basing on how you're seeing number 2 go vertical down the seam. Now you're seeing Lamb go vertical, so they're both going vertical. So you're trying to carry that. I'll have to look at it again a little bit closer, but it's just obviously a tough matchup to be in. And you're dropping Watt into coverage instead of going forward. You're playing more zone. I don't know if they were in base on that play. I can try to look it up, but just an ugly situation all around.
Right. Trying to think what else sticks out in my head here.
I'm trying to think if they were based on that play. That touchdown happened in the first half, right? I want to try to look up in my charting.
Yeah.
So that was 7:52 in the second. Just give me a second here. I want to see if I can try to find what.
You got it charted yet or no?
I have the first half written down. I don't have it in my computer yet, but I do want to try to see where that one had happened at. They were in base on that play.
Okay.
And against 11 personnel. So there's your classic instance of staying in base to stop the run on 3rd and 7. Interesting decision there. And TJ Watt gets on a receiver. So yeah, not a great day for the coaching staff out loud. I think overall, I think you have to say that out loud. The Tomlin, Fichtner, Danny Smith, Keith Butler, all those coaches I thought get pretty negative marks in this one.
Yeah, I think they were daring the Cowboys. Look, Gilbert, hats off to him. Took a lot of what was given him in a lot of those situations there, and that includes the tight ends on the choice routes. And obviously in some situations too, when you have when you're running man in those situations, and you have a linebacker like Spillane walling off the inside, you're going to lose that. If the quarterback has time, I don't care if it's Devin Bush out there, you're going to lose that.
Sure.
And he did a good job of making some of those throws in there.
My God, why was this team in base on 3rd and 7 against 11 personnel? I understand. That you want to be in dime, but at least be a nickel. At least get Cam Sutton out there. That's ridiculous. It's 3rd and 7. I get you want to stop the run, but it's just in 1st and 10. That's just bad.
They were obviously in 11, right?
Yeah, they were in 11. 3 receivers on the field. And the Steelers are in base with Carlos Davis, and you got TJ Watt dropping into coverage to bring in a 4-man rush. It's not getting home. That's just not acceptable. That is shades of like 2018 Chargers game, 2017. Those were problems that I thought were fixed. And I know Butler wanted to stop the run, but it feels like he did everything to stop the run and didn't take the passing game seriously.
One of those questions that hopefully somebody asks Butler, but probably won't.
Well, I know what his answer is going to be. We got to stop Zeke. Got to stop
Zeke,
21. Right. And Zeke didn't have a good game I think he averaged under 3 yards per carry. So in that sense, he was contained, I suppose. But Pollard got him, and Gilbert made some plays outside the pocket, and the passing game got carved up. And part of that is guys got to execute better. The pass rush has to get home. But part of that is you got linebackers on receivers. You're playing a lot of spot drop zone because you're staying in your base defense, and you can't play man against 11 personnel. And they didn't really ever adjust to it.
Well, here's the thing. When you go back and look at just running backs alone, okay, or running back, and didn't they have an end around or something to Lamb or one of those in there? But take out the 3 quarterback. I think 2 scrambles and 1 design run to start with there by Gilbert. The Cowboys running backs in that game were like 45% success rate. So it's not like they killed you that way. It was just key runs at key time. Yeah, mm-hmm. I think the time, especially a couple of us being third down situations there, that 3rd and 8 or whatever was just killer. I know Marcus Allen was on the field for that one. I have not seen PFF grades yet because they weren't done by the time we got on this podcast. But you know who might have graded out as the best defensive player?
Minka.
Well, maybe besides him, because Minka obviously didn't play that bad of a game. Carlos Davis.
Did he play well? I didn't really get a good feel for his performance.
From the quick rundown of the TV tape, I thought he played fairly well.
Played more than I thought. What do you have, like 30-something snaps? 22 snaps?
Hold on a minute. They got the grades up here now.
Oh, do they? Let me find the snap count while you find that.
14, I think.
16. Yeah, 16 snaps, which is a little more than I thought it was going to be, but they were on the defense was on the field more than I would have liked.
All right, he was the 8th. He finished out with the 8th highest grade. Carlos Davis did.
Who had the best and the worst grade?
Guess the top 3.
Best in terms of the best grades, top 3 best. I'll say Minka, Hayden, and Tuitt in some order.
No.
Over 3.
Minka was in the top 3.
Okay, give me the top 3.
Minka was number 3. Cameron Hayward, number 1, 90.2.
I should have guessed Hayward. Yeah, I mean,
what did he play that good of a game?
I mean, he was clutch at the end. I mean, he took Garner Williams' soul.
And I guess too, on the interception, didn't he get the most credit for the pressure on that boy, how huge was that? That's one thing we didn't talk about.
We're getting there.
Who's number 2? Didn't he have the main pressure on that interception?
I think so. I have to comb through my charting somehow, but yeah, I think so.
And then Alex Highsmith, number 2, 82.5 grade on that one.
All right, got his first NFL sack, so kudos to him. Who were bottom 3?
Justin Lane, Marcus Allen, and then Bugs rounds it out. Not what you want from Bugs there. And yeah, I can kind of, it's TV tape, but yeah, Bugs didn't have the best game.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about
especially against the run. 31.3 grade against the run.
Tyson, I will give you my MCL. Please take it. Need him healthy. Because it's not only exposing, obviously you're missing Alualu, you're exposing your depth because you're now expecting Carlos Davis and Mondo and Bugs to play at that level, and they're just not going to play at the level that Tuitt and Hayward and Alualu's been playing at.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can preach next man up all you want, but sometimes your next man just ain't ain't what the first team next man would be.
Yeah, and then you're expecting your third string to not be like your second string, and it just really stresses you in a lot of ways. And that injuries happen. We're not going to use that as an excuse. They got to play better. I mean, there's no question about that. But you're certainly feeling the effects of the injury and the domino effect off of that. But some of the positives, Minka Fitzpatrick, as we just mentioned, thought had a really good game. They weren't the most difficult takeaways in the sense of that one got popped out to him, and the second was the result of pressure, but still making the big plays. And he thought his tackling had improved greatly the last couple of weeks, and that was the one common thread concern we had with Minka throughout the first 5-6 weeks was the tackling had been pretty poor, and I think he's getting that cleaned up now.
Who was the one that had Minka had the big tackle over there on the right side on one of those, didn't he? Where it looked like the guy was getting loose, and I thought it was him.
The dump off to Zeke, because Hayden had a tackle on that, which was a massive.
No, not that one. That was I can't wait to see. But the thing is about that, Robert Splain's coming. I just don't know how quick Robert Splain gets there, and if he breaks down enough quickly to get that. So that's one to look at. But there was something over on the left hand side that looked like it might go for something. I think Minka made a nice tackle over there.
He made a couple of tackles in the run game where Pollard or Zeke were ripping off some runs.
That was it. I think over there, but it was to the offense's left side on one of them.
Let me try to find. Maybe I can try to find Tony Pollard, left end, first quarter for 20 yards, tackled by Minka. I don't know if that one was it though. There was another one that I'm.
Seemed like another one, right?
Yeah, a couple. But anyway, the tackling for Minka has been much better, and so positive there. And I thought the secondary overall. The secondary didn't seem to play bad. What is your take?
The early Cam Sutton getting beaten man on the Cooper.
Yeah, but that's a great throw from Gilbert. That slot fade, that is in the bucket. Right. I mean, it's hard to fault Sutton too much about that.
Once again, you look at the adjusted net yards for passing attempt on this, and how interceptions play a big part in this. What do you have? One or two? You had the one to Minka that Minka got. That was the only interception, wasn't it?
Yeah, the only interception. Because the other one was the Cam Sutton
forced fumble on that one. But getting an interception in a red zone can really turn around your really. It's a swing if you want to adjust net yards for passing attempt number. But if you look once again, look, they didn't have the amount of sacks that we kind of thought they would have in this game, especially against that line. But I thought Gilbert, for the most part, they did a good job of max protecting when they had to, and then him making good decisions, getting rid of football in other situations there. But they did get a lot of pressure in there. They got a lot of hits on him, especially I thought early in that game there. But that interception in the red zone was a huge turning point in that game. But back to your point, I didn't think I think more the zone defense was to
Mm-hmm.
be blamed on a lot of that popcorn in the passing game.
Yeah, I think it was more of a scheme issue than it was a personnel individual issue. Personnel in terms of some of the groupings they decided to employ was a problem, but individually the secondary, I don't think it was a lot of failures there. Yeah, I mean, that pick was huge. It was 19-15 Dallas fourth quarter. I mean, they at least get a field goal there, make it 22-15, potentially get in the end zone. Yeah, that was a big play there for Minkah. But to your point about the pass rush, I mean, the pass rush really wasn't getting home with 4, and they really had to bring pressure to do that. And that, to me, was one of the bigger disappointments of this game, was the fact they had to bring a lot of pressure. That Dupree and Watt, I mean, they were winning, but they just weren't getting home enough to really be super impactful.
Tired bunch.
Yeah, I mean, again, they're playing a lot of snaps, but I don't know. I mean,
there's no bye week coming, right?
No, yeah. I mean, you got to play not a tough Bengals team, but an AFC North team that's going to be, competitive against Cincinnati.
You got a team that's got a quarterback that's not going to be afraid to throw, and a couple of receivers in T. Higgins and AJ always gets loose on one, and then Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, this defense, I mean, I think, again, not to excuse it. I know it sounds like it, but I promise you it's not. They're just tired. And that's, you wonder why Tomlin gave them such a light day on Wednesday, where they were just in hats. I think that's why. I think he recognizes teams pretty beat up right now, and it's not going to there's no, as you said, there's no bye week. There is no break coming.
Right.
All right, Dave, let's address the elephant in the room about special teams. And
that's your specialty.
I know. Don't make me do it. On the bright side, Chris Boswell, 59-yard field goal. That is a Steelers record. So kudos to him. And it came under unusual circumstances of a 54-yarder that's missed but negated by Cam Hayward's false start. And so they get the re-kick on it, and he splits the uprights on that one. So kudos to him. And Jordan Berry has punted really well the last 3 weeks. And he had one of his better games, really, of his Steelers career. 4 punts, average of 50.8 yards, I believe, one inside the 20. So I thought Berry had one of his best games, really, in the Steelers uniform.
I got a little bit of pushback in my keys, I think, or probably surprised a lot of people in my 5 keys. I think the last one I had was punting is not a bad thing in this game. When you read that initially, what did you think?
I understood the point. You don't want to, because the last thing you could afford in this game were turnovers,
right,
and you just didn't want to give the football away and make it competitive. And they didn't do that, and the game was still competitive, which is cause for concern. But yeah, I understood the point you were making.
Third down check downs. I mean, I know people want to fire Randy Fichtner every time there's a third down check down or a third down draw, but sometimes it's okay. It's okay to do that, especially the competition. I mean, look, they had them outclassed the whole time. There was no reason to force a football down the field in a third and whatever situation in that kind of game. There, punts are okay, and Jordan Berry made punts a lot more easier to swallow in that game. I think at one point he was averaging over through the first 4 of them, he was averaging over 50 yards with a long of like 60 something in there, and I think one inside the 20 and no touchbacks. So at least the first 4, I forgot to track it after that point. His best game punt in a long time.
Well, he only had 4. He finished 4 punts, 50.8 average, long of 62, which might be a career long for him. So yeah, I mean, it was a good game for him, and Boswell had the 59-yarder. Fortunately, everything else though was a dumpster fire. Yeah,
everything else.
When do you want to begin with it?
Go.
I mean, you had the punt return that they threw from, who was it? Cedric Wilson to C.J. Goodwin, 73 yards the other way.
You see him fake the hamstring injury on that?
I did. That was really good. I got to tip my hat. I mean, that is self-scouting, or that is good scouting by Dallas. You don't do that unless you know exactly where that punt's going to go. If you're the Cowboys, you know that Jordan Berry was always punt in that one direction, and so that is great scouting to have a call like that. And Steelers obviously weren't ready for it. It goes for a big gain. You had a missed extra point. You had a block extra point. You had the false start on the 54-yarder. You had the pooch kick that went 60-something yards the other way. I mean, it just got worse and worse.
Yeah, it did. It was a snowball effect for sure. I thought in both instances on those returns, thought they was gone.
Mm-hmm.
and really on the punt return one, I kind of questioned, was he down? Did Jordan Dangerfield get any hand on him?
Right. I mean, it would have been negated because of the penalty that was blocking the back.
It didn't matter, but I worry that people aren't touching, not finished. That's going to be a bad, that's going to snowball into something else, later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then just the field goal stuff, and this is not the whole, legality of the guy leaping over the long snapper. I mean, there's maybe a gray area there, but this has happened with Pittsburgh before. Remember Justin Simmons 2 years ago? He jumped over and blocked a field goal that Boss tried. I mean, this has been an issue that has. This isn't a new problem for this team, and it's frustrating there wasn't any ability to adjust to it in game. I mean, that's what coaching's about, adjusting in game, and Danny Smith was not able to do that, and that is not a good look for him.
That old pooch kickoff too, man. Jeez, how do you not cover that one?
I mean, that's just pathetic.
That's bad. I mean, really, I don't know. Bad. I mean, so much is it drawn up or just effort or what? It was a great. The bad thing about it is such a great, perfect pooch. The only thing that went right on that was the actual distance of the pooch.
Right. It was like caught at the half-yard line. I mean, it was perfect by Boz, because if that's in the end zone at all, I mean, the dude's just gonna take a knee or let the ball bounce in the end zone for a touchback. But I don't know what went wrong on that play. I don't know if I don't know whose fault it is there. It's probably not just one guy's fault, but it was a terrible outcome.
But you got it. I take it.
Maybe I'll have.
Or I got it. I got it. You take it. Yeah.
That's what it felt like. Was you guys take it. But yeah, that was bad, and that speaks to the level of lack of confidence that Tomlin had to not kick the field goal on that 4th and 1 and go for it instead. And it just.
Yeah, there was a point in that game where you look at those two the blocked extra point and the missed extra point. You kind of going, oh, is this going to be it? Is this what we're going to be part of what we're talking about here?
All right. Yeah, and we would be talking about that had this team lost that game. So, not good. I mean, 1 week thing. I mean, special teams overall has been really good this year. Punting's gotten better with the switch back to Jordan Berry, but that stuff's got to get cleaned up, because that stuff's going to lose your ball games.
Once again, like we started the show with, all three phases did a good job of having a hand in this game being closer than what it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what we missed here so far. I feel like we covered it for not seeing the all 22 yet fairly well.
Yeah, we can move on if you want, Dave.
No turnovers. I mean, there's no way you could have even afforded a turnover in that game. If you had one turnover in that game, that would have been one too many. The way it played out there.
Though the 4th and 1s failed. 0 for 2 on 4th down.
Those are
4th
turnovers.
and 1. Those are in a sense turnovers. So, but I get your point. Yeah, I mean, again, the fact that you don't literally turn the football over and this game is as close as it was is disappointing. The base defense is one element there that I think gives us indigestion. The fact that they can only move the ball with 1 personnel on offense is another aspect, and then all the special team stuff really for the most part. Let me give you a couple stats of the weird, because they're my favorite thing to talk about. Here's a real random one. Steelers won this game 24-19. It's only the 30th time in regular season history the games ended in a score of 24-19. For Pittsburgh, it's the second time in a regular season game where they've had a 24-19 game. The other, 1963, that was also on the road. That was also against Dallas.
Wow.
So that's a very, very strange one I just happened to come across. And the Steelers have now allowed 409 yards rushing their last 2 games, 265 against Baltimore, 144 against Dallas Sunday. That's the most yards given up in a 2-game span since Week 12 and Week 13 of 2000, when Jacksonville and the Bengals each had over 200. I think that was Fred Taylor and Corey Dillon, maybe. And so it's been about 20 years since we've seen a run defense this bad in back-to-back weeks, which is very, very disappointing.
As the saying goes, it's a small world, but I wouldn't want to paint it. Where did it feel like 144 yards rushing?
Yeah, I mean, Zeke did not have the most successful day, but they had some explosive runs. I mean, multiple of 20 plus.
It did feel like I did get a yes there or no? It did feel like it?
Yeah, it did. It felt like they had more. It felt like Zeke had a better day than what the numbers show. I mean, the lack of contain on Gilbert, who is no one's definition of an athlete, is really disappointing. I thought Tua had struggled there. So it was just a lot of just losing the line of scrimmage, too. It wasn't like they hit one 70-yard run and that skewed the numbers. They were consistently on schedule. They were consistently winning the point of attack, and that should not happen in this game.
See, I was a bit surprised to see the final number.
You thought it was going to come in lower than that?
No, it felt like about 112, 115 or something like that. It didn't feel like 144 yards rushing to me, or whatever the number was.
They just did not win the point of attack, though. They got beat up pretty good at the line of scrimmage.
What was it? It was 144 on 31 rushes. Boy, for having that look, I thought they were going to hold him out of that game. I got to be honest with you. I thought Saturday evening with the elevation of that Siwo, from the
TCU kid,
the TCU kid, I thought for sure that Elliott would be inactive. They ended up leaving that other kid, Siwu, inactive for that game and went with Elliott and Pollard. And it was the right decision.
Yeah, it was. So
just 2 point. Pollard is the guy. Why don't they get the ball in the hands of that kid more?
Because they're paying Zeke $90 million.
I guess so.
He's a good player, though. Pollard was exciting at Memphis, and Memphis knows how to find running backs.
Those sacks were pretty big. One of them by Highsmith. Nice move. I can't wait to see that one from an end zone view. Nice move back inside by Highsmith on his sack. And what can you say about Cam Hayward? Long arm city, right?
Put that one in a museum. I mean, that was just grown man strength. And Connor Williams is not some backup guard either that's like fourth string. He's been a starter for them, one of the few guys that stayed healthy. And Hayward just turnstile.
Just reminiscent of the Quentin Nelson pass rush, I think, last year, right?
Mm-hmm. But even more so because he got off that block and was able to bring down any horse collar concerns there. I'm getting a lot of tweets saying, "Oh, Cowboys fans, that should have been a horse collar."
I got to admit, I haven't looked at it. I saw some rumblings. I forgot to go back and look at it. Yeah. I didn't look at it close. I will.
Anyway, all right, Dave. Anything else you want to talk about from this game, or you want to move on to my bookie before we get to some reader emails?
Oh, wow. I forgot about that.
Well, while you do that, let me read some more stats of the weird because I have an opportunity and a platform to do that. Vince Williams has 14 tackles for a loss in his first 8 games. The first player to do that since Chandler Jones in 2017, since 1999. As far back as PFR tracks the stat, only 11 players have had 14-plus tackles for loss in their first 8 games. That includes the likes of J.J. Watt, Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware, Jared Allen. It's a very good company to keep there. Ben Roethlisberger recorded his 18th 300-plus yard, 3 touchdown, no interception performance of his career. That's 5th in NFL history, only behind Breeze, Brady, Rodgers, and Peyton Manning. So good stat there for Big Ben.
All right, our buddies at my bookie, late fall college ball, the NBA bubble, and UFC Fight Island. It's clear 2020 has been a year unlike any other. Boy, they got that part right. Which is why you need a sports book with offers unlike any other. Get some skin in the game with my bookie, where odds boost, lightning deals, and free bets await all season long. And with Turkey Day now right around the corner, there really is no better time to feast on some NFL action. Like Uncle Dave told you the other day on Twitter, take the points and the Steelers on the money line. That's one on my bookie for me this week. Whether you're a first-time customer or you've been playing with my bookie for years, there is no shortage of value to be found in the thousands of game lines, unique prop bets, and contests that they offer every week. Sign up or get reloaded today. Find an edge, make your bet, and get paid. They also boast a fully fledged casino platform giving you access to all the classic table, slot, and card games you'd expect to find at your local spot. And the best part is, at MyBookie, the doors never close, so you can continue to build your bankroll even after the stadium lights have gone out. Make the right play and sign up today at MyBookie, and when you do, use promo code TERRIBLE to get your deposit matched halfway, all the way up to $1,000. The terms are simple. You put in $200, they'll match you with another $100 in your bank account. or in your account. If you're already planning to bet this season, this is free betting money. It's winning season at MyBookie, so come join in on the fun with some cash while you're at it, and use promo code Terrible when you do at MyBookie.
All right, Dave, let's get to some reader emails and close out today's show.
Oh, Lord, this is going to be long, Alex.
I'm strapped in.
Yeah, the sea was angry, my friend, like an old man trying to send back soup at a deli.
Is that a Seinfeld reference?
Yeah, that's a Seinfeld reference.
There you go.
Ben Laturio writes in, David Alex, happy Victory Monday. How are both your nerves doing after that scare in Dallas? As for my question, the Steelers started the first game of this road trip against the Titans like they were shot out of a cannon, but ended that game on their heels. After these two games, Baltimore and Dallas, they started the game slowly and found their stride late to narrowly escape both of them with a win. Other than maybe a bit of fatigue setting in after a long road stretch, any thoughts on why the reversal of the Steelers played during this portion of the season in terms of starting and ending games? Appreciate the response. I just want to say to the others that listen, feel free and feel the need to disparage Dave and write just awful messages, blah, blah, blah. Machine need to stop. Dave, Alex, and crew put in long hours. All right, yeah, we appreciate that for sure. What's your answer to that first half of the question?
Yeah, it's disappointing. They're playing.
Other maybe a bit of fatigue setting in. Any thoughts on a reversal of Steelers play during this portion of the season?
Yeah, I mean, they're playing good halves, but they're not playing complete games. Good first half against Tennessee, good second half against Dallas and Baltimore relative to the first half, but really bad starts to those games. I think there are definitely fatigue and some tiredness and some, maxed out, spent physically and mentally in these games, but they're just not winning the line of scrimmage. They're struggling at the point of attack on both sides of the football, and when you struggle in the trenches, it's hard to win games. And they're just narrowly getting out because of Ben and the four receiver sets, but they're not winning up front.
All right. Charles writes in, it became obvious yesterday Mason Rudolph still isn't an NFL quarterback. His passes lack necessary zip and made a very questionable throw late over the middle. I would rather see Josh Dobbs active and Rudolph inactive on game days. Colbert should just admit the first-round grade was a mistake on Rudolph and look for Garrett Gilbert backup type in the future until Ben retires. Let the next great quarterback be the next GM's problems. Charles, I mean, you're stuck waiting through. You're stuck with him through 2021. I'm telling you guys, you guys don't like to hear it, but that's likely what's going to happen. Rudolph and Dobbs are probably going to battle it out next year. Could they draft another quarterback after? They got a lot of draft picks on the board right now for 2021, but right now I got it. With what they're going to lose and all like that, and if Ben signs another extension with Mason under contract for 2021 and with Dobbs technically under contract, I think through 2022, right? I don't see them doing anything at the backup quarterback position, Charles. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's advocating as much for just dressing Dobbs and being the backup this year. I'm assuming over Rudolph, and it would take more than what yesterday to have that happen. But that would be the easiest way to bench Rudolph from his backup spot.
Dave and Alex, this one's from Austin Devore. A few things. I'm sure everyone is noting these slow starts we are having as an offense 2 weeks in a row. Feels like we can't do anything in the first half. I've been saying the Steelers offense are slow starters for years. Go into the second half and then let Ben take over the show. Spread the guys out with empty sets, call plays, and we roll. I've never been one to say get rid of Randy, but seriously, what is he doing? Calling runs on second and long and third and long when we know we aren't running the ball well. What can this offense do to increase their early game efficiency? Do we let Ben call the show from the beginning? I know these second half comebacks are working now, but I don't see it happening against the Chiefs/Seahawks team. Lastly, what the hell is wrong with the run game and run D? Is our offense never being on the field in the first half killing our run defense, or is our O-line struggling with run blocking? Thanks as always, gents. I'm starting to become a regular write-in. Yeah, you're right, Austin. I think they should really just fire Randy Fichtner and Matt Canada. Just fire them, really.
Well, obviously,
I'd fire everybody. Just let Ben do everything, really.
Some criticism is obviously deserved for Fichtner for this game, and the fact that the last 2 weeks that really nothing that's been called has seemed to work. I think that's fair to say. Obviously, we're not firing Randy Fichtner, but there's got to be a solution to this. We can't rely on 0-1 personnel to win your Super Bowl.
I mean, you bring in Matt Canada. You're running a lot of this. A lot of it comes. I hate to say it, a lot of it comes down to execution, and maybe we need to look closer at maybe some of these pre-snap decisions that maybe Ben has when he can check out of a run or something.
Sure, yeah, I think obviously there's an execution problem.
If you're going to give the quarterback credit for having autonomy in good play situations, you got to give him some in bad situations as well, right?
Sure, yeah. I mean, Ben obviously has as much freedom as any quarterback in football. But again, just the 1 week against Baltimore, it's a tough defense. They're a really good group. You just kind of let Ben run the show. I mean, you can live with that every now and then. But I don't want to see this recurring theme where it feels like the only thing that's working is when you're just kind of giving the keys to Ben. And so hopefully Fichtner's able to come up with a plan to get this offense into a rhythm. And it's a team-wide thing. It's not just Fichtner, obviously. But you want to see more from all the coaches. I don't think the coaching staffs across the board. No one did well yesterday.
What's going to happen if you turn the keys over in the second half of one of these games and they lose it? Then who's going to get the blame?
Well, that's the problem is you can't just keep asking that to happen every single week because it's just not sustainable, as we said. I mean, you got to have a better plan and better execution team-wide, but I think that's also reflected on the coaching staff that they got to be better as well. And I think that all the coaches, Butler, Fichtner, Smith, Tomlin, get negative marks for yesterday's performance.
Here's the thing. Even go back as far as Haley, what they do offensively from a play standpoint really hasn't morphed a whole hell of a lot. Plain and simple, right?
Sure.
I mean, there are staples that are staples that have been staples for a long time, and Ben's probably got a lot. There are staples that Ben likes to run, and you're not going to get away from those. All right. Now you come up and you put some lipstick on the pig with some of these pre-snap motions, and they worked for a section that they haven't worked so much in the last 2 games, right?
Right.
So. I think the biggest element here then is building off of some of these successes that you've already had and continue. We're not seeing hardly any passing off of this pre-snap motion yet, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's meat in the bone for this motion stuff still.
And like it or not, some of this deep ball stuff, people don't. I get the most pushback when I talk about Ben not having deep ball success. Mm-hmm. You're going to have that at some point, folks. I'm sorry. You're not going to be able to continue to run this short 0-1 passing game forever with success. It's going to catch up with you. You're going to have to make defenses start respecting the deep ball, and he's not. Yeah, he hit on the ones that he hit on are both with those Ben Roethlisberger. Look, there's nothing wrong with saying 2 deep balls connected for touchdowns. Thank God they did. Mm-hmm. But look at what it took to get. Look what happened on both those.
Yeah, you need to be a more well-rounded offense and have a vertical component. Steelers offenses really historically have only been successful when you've had that vertical component, and it's been too spotty this year. So I agree with that.
Right. So, I mean, so what do you say about Austin? Austin, the title of it, let's go back to the title. Austin thinks Randy is poop.
Well, I mean, that's, obviously just the fandom side of things, but I don't think Fichtner's above criticism. I know you don't either. That it's fair to be critical these last 2 weeks because what's been planned and what's been called and what's the game plan has not worked. And again, part of that's on execution. Part of that can be on coaching as well. So
where's the disconnect in the first half? Where is it? Where's the blame go?
I mean, it goes to everybody, including Fichtner. I don't have a percentage of how to split this thing up. I want to see the all 22. I mean, obviously the players got to execute, but whatever Randy's calling it's not been working. And if that continues, then that's going to be a problem.
No, obviously the 2nd and 10 runs, you're not, those give anybody indigestion,
Yeah, I mean, he did it on 2nd and 10 and 2nd and 14, and I think they punted on both of those. Right?
I think so.
I'll have to check. I mean, again, could Ben check? Is he checking into those plays? Could he check out of those plays? I mean, sure. I mean, those things are all possible. And by the way, this is still the worst tight end / running back screen team I've ever seen. I mean, receiver screens they can run. Anything to a tight end or running back though is just
yeah.
Garbage.
They have bad problems. And what is that? Execution or what?
I mean, it's everything. Of course, everything always boils down to execution, but I think you just got to stop calling them because they're not working. I mean, whatever is being planned is not working, and you're just beating your head against the wall if you keep trying it.
They Tony Romo kept making a point of outside the numbers.
On what, the screen game?
Or early, no, just passing game in general early.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they got some plays late, and Juju's making plays over the middle of the field. But yeah, you need to be a more versatile, more balanced offense.
And then you can question McFarland being in there on some of those. Look, if you pick up a few of those 3rd and shorts or 4th and shorts, I mean, you're talking about a little bit different, maybe feeling in the stomach, right? Or no?
Sure. No, I agree, but they aren't. I mean, that's just reality. Is they aren't executing. They aren't doing it.
Right. All right, Pierre Miller writes in, I lost 2 years of my life yesterday watching us beat the Cowboys. How come people are still asking about signing Don Terry Poe when it's obviously he had one too many Blue Dot Burgers? Oh, he's throwing out the Blue Dot Burgers. Blue Dot Burgers place back. Pierre's obviously our listener that spent time back in my hometown there. I don't know. People want to play Madden with this thing, I think. I don't know why they keep asking about Don Terry Poe. I thoroughly enjoy when you throw out pop culture reference and Alex doesn't get it, or when Alex gives you something and you don't get it. Have you thought about pop culture reference segment for like 5 minutes? The problem is if we did the 5 minutes, it'd turn into be 25 minutes for the podcast, maybe every Friday episode. I think Alex's rise to stardom as part of Steelers Depot is partly based on his availability. He's come a long way from being the Ross Ventrone of the podcast. How much guaranteed money did he get when you re-signed him after his rookie contract, or were you just like Colbert and only guaranteed episode 1 of the new season? Haha, good. My mother is mania bipolar as well, Dave. Blah 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 blah. Stuttering signs of genius. Exactly right. I'm a genius on that. Been listening since 2012. 4th email, wrote this one. This one gets read. Y'all are a national treasure. Peace and love. Thanks for that, Pierre. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you, Pierre.
Tony Harris writes in, hey guys, I'm Tony from Virginia. Thanks for all the excellent work that you do. My question is pretty simple. Why didn't the Steelers send the house often at Gilbert? It wasn't until the final drive when Gilbert was regularly rattled by the pressure. Second question, did you find it interesting that Connor wasn't receiving any short yardage work until the end of the game? They ran McFarland and Snell, which had no success. I'm glad, though, not to see Samuels on the field, though. Yeah, Jalen Samuels played 0 offensive snaps in that game. The game flow didn't – thank God Jalen Samuels wasn't in there short yardage. The game flow didn't let Connor get going, which was frustrating to see. There were a couple things times when I thought they should have just not had base, or if they're going to put base out there, go ahead and send everybody.
Yeah, I think the hope was they could get home with 4 and just play coverage against some of their tougher receivers, and it just wasn't happening. And so they had to dial up pressure more in the second half to try to get home, which did seem to work. It had more success otherwise than the 4-man rush that really was not as successful. So I think the hope was obviously on paper, T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree, Hayward, and Tua should have good games. And as a pass rusher, none of them were terrible, but you just didn't get the production that I think you were expecting. I mean, 2 sacks on Gilbert. I mean, it's that line. I mean, I know there was some pressure.
I thought it'd be about 3, 4, and I thought the line would have been about 4.5 on that.
Right. So again, pressure was there. They got some hits, but just not quite good enough.
Jonathan Mason, Alex and Dave, looks like the Steelers are trying different things on possession down since the Bush injury. Do y'all like what you're seeing at some point? Will we see Edmonds move into lone linebacker spot and Davis play strong safety? Thanks, Jonathan. No, I don't think we're going to see that, but I think that you're going to start. Avery Williamson's going to see some snaps moving forward now. That's going to be the guy interesting to be tracked where he plays, I think, a little bit moving forward here. I don't think you're going to see Edmonds move into the lone linebacker spot and Davis play special teams. The Marcus Allen 4 snaps in dime as dime linebacker didn't leave a good taste in my mouth in this game against Dallas.
Yeah, any idea in what sub-package or package Williamson may play?
No, but I mean, maybe some instances, maybe if you're going to play some base against 11, but I don't know. I mean, you're pulling Vince off, if you're going to choose to play base against 11, maybe that's an area to do it.
Yeah, but you're going to pull Vince off, you said?
Yeah.
Because Spillane's calling your defense. But you want to pull Vince off? He's got 14 tackles for a loss.
Just saying,
yeah.
You asked.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, it's hard to figure out exactly. We'll see. I mean, let's just get him active. I mean, he was active yesterday, but let's get him on the field and just get him in the playbook, get him back in the facility this week and go from there. I still don't see a real clear path for him to get play time unless these struggles really continue.
All right, let's go back to the email machine for a few more here. We got tons of them we're not going to be able to hit. Sorry, folks, we're not going to be able to hit all of them. Week 9 from Andy Manley. Good morning, guys. You guys are doing great as always. I've said this in the past on Twitter, but this offensive line needs to get in a 3-point stance on obvious run plays. Second quarter, 12:33. Steelers are in 2nd and 2 and line up in shotgun. Handoff for 1 yard, no push on the line. The next play, 3rd and 1, same formation, same result. If you watch the Dallas offensive line on obvious running situations, they all line up in 3-point and fire out, push the defensive line, resulting in a successful play. If these guys aren't running offensive line, then bring in Dotson and run behind him. Thanks. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, Dotton's the one guy that plays that 3-point stance consistently. Yeah. No, I think I saw that tweet about that. I think it was a weird comment. Like Alex and Dave, they don't agree with this, but I never said I disagree with this. I mean, I understand that point about being a 3-point stance and the benefits to that. I mean, you have to worry about tendencies and run past tells and things like that. But to your overall point that being in a 2-point stance might be hurting the run blocking, sure, I think that's very fair.
Jeff Dudash from Raleigh. What do you think about Don Terry Poe in for a visit? I don't. We don't, Jeff. In my opinion, the problem is the run defense have been primarily related to Alualu's absence. A series of 7th rounders and undrafted free agents they continue to rotate in that position are ridiculously below the line, allowing teams to exploit, blah, blah, blah. Supposedly, Poe had weight problems, but he was very comparable to Javon Hargrave for most of his career. I think you're wasting you're wasting internet ink and air there, Jeff. Be honest with you.
Yeah, Poe was a really good player coming out and had some good years, but what happened 5 years ago is different than now, and now is the only thing that matters, and Poe's just not going to be the guy.
Mike Schertzer writes in, Ben's deep ball troubles. Be careful, Mike. You're gonna get some death threats here talking about Ben's deep ball. I've been listening for about 4 seasons, and there's no better place for a level-headed Steelers info. You guys do a great job combining analytical thinking with watching the tape. Bold. Do you think the poor first half offenses are because Ben is having trouble with the deep ball? Last week, Dave pointed out, you're going to get me in trouble here, Mike. Last week, Dave pointed out that we got 2 deep ball penalties, but I don't think any deep receptions. Deep balls didn't look good to me this week either. And Romo keep pointing out that the Dallas was consistently in single high and weren't taking advantage of it. Seems to me that opposing defenses might not be respecting the deep ball anymore. Do you think that agrees with what you're seeing on tape? Hope I'm making mountains out of molehills. Thanks for a great show. Mike rhymes with bike. Thanks for that, Mike. Some phonetic there. Hey, Mike is not in Dave alias here, right?
Yeah, no, I think that there have been struggles there, and Ben's got to be better. And obviously Claypool had that drop yesterday, and again, I know you could call PI, but I think Claypool's still got to make that play regardless. So it's half and half, and I wish Deontay would run through some of these. I know the one was double coverage, and that's not a good decision by Ben, but I just kind of wish he would try to finish the play a little bit better. But yeah, it's an element of the offense that has been very inconsistent, and it's something that I think this team needs to obviously improve upon.
There's no such thing as a trap game in the NFL from Jason, pronounced Jason Bodine in Vegas. There's no such thing as a trap game in the NFL. He repeats that, unless you're the Steelers. Hey, David Knox, have your heart started beating again? The cardiac kids did again, but like Danny Glover says, I'm too old for this. Beep. What do you expect, though, through at the same time, though, the game would have been different had Mapletron not dropped the sure TD early for a couple of errant throws by Ben, as well as poor. Look, I get where you're coming from, running short on time here, Jason, but look, I agree. I think the complexion of the game maybe changes a little bit if you get that early, deep touchdown there. And there's no such thing as a there's no such thing as a trap game in the NFL, folks. Sorry. Frame it however you want. The analytics don't back it up. And usually, too, trap games are depending on the definition, trap games a lot of times are aligned with looking past one team to get to a next team. All right. You mean they're looking forward to playing the Cincinnati Bengals, right?
Game you circle on your calendar.
Yeah, the one.
Week 10 against Cincinnati.
Yeah. You guys, your narrative stinks. Sorry, it stinks. Rasmus Finholt writes in, greetings from Sweden. All right, let's end with a Sweden email here. The shows are perfect in length, especially considering me running a podcast at 1.5 the normal speed. However, I get sad when Alex says, okay, let's get through some reader emails and close out the show. Oh, no, is it that time already? My newbie question, how does the money flow situation look like in the NFL when looking at the league and looking at the club's teams? What are expenses for NFL as a whole? What are the income expenses for individual team, clubs, salary, merchandise, bonuses, ticket revenues, and so on? And I think there's somewhere in here is another email about what is the salary cap looking like for number for 2021. Guys, I don't have a clue right now. I think if I ask my buddy Joe Corey, who's as in tune as this, he's going to tell you he doesn't know either. It's so hard to predict with the climate, the COVID climate, and all like that. Look, crowds are picking up, but it's still obviously not half full stadiums yet either. That's got to hurt. I know TV revenues are good. Yada yada. Playoffs will help and all like that, but I've said all along I don't think it's going to come in at a $175 million floor. But outside of that, I don't have a clue. And I'd just be talking out of my you-know-what, if I tried to guess on it in those situations. And what are the income expenses for NFL as a whole? What are the income expenses for individual teams? I don't know. That's something, if we get Joel Corey on, maybe we'll ask him something along those lines.
Yeah, a lot of things above my pay grade. I would just look towards the Packers because I think they have a public financial report, considering they're a publicly owned team, and that may give you a clue for at least last year, and maybe we'll see what numbers they show up this year. Yeah, so I can't give you much of specifics, especially for the league, but check the Packers, some of their financial statements if you really want to get in the nitty-gritty of that stuff.
All right, what are we looking for in the All-22 tape?
Oh, some sadness, some pain. Just looking at
TV tape wasn't awful, but
just the trench play, just really what went wrong in the trenches overall. Why did this team lose the point of attack so much? And that's something we'll investigate. I think I have some pretty good ideas for the answers, but we'll see. We'll come back Wednesday and give you some more information in Tomlin's presser on Tuesday, of course.
Yeah, we'll see about getting Paul Dehner in to talk about the Bengals, hopefully on Wednesday as well too. We'll talk about all 22 from this game after we've digested and all like that, and whatever else, Tomlin Tuesday, whatever pops up there injury wise and news, and we'll try to get to all of it. So I think we successfully made this about a 2-hour podcast. Tell people what we do on Monday nights. It's going to be painful. Right?
It'll be interesting. We'll have our Monday live stream over on YouTube. You can find my YouTube channel. Just type in my name, Alex Kozora, and we have our live stream from 7 to 8 p.m. So join Dave and I and ask your Steelers questions. We answer any and all for an hour every Monday evening.
All right, with that, you can follow me on the Twitter machine at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on the Twitter machine at Alex_Kozora. We're on Facebook too, folks. You find us on, should be easy, Steelers Depot on Facebook there. Get a lot of good traffic that way there. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button up right navigational bar. Also, ad-free version. Go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button up right navigational bar for $25 for one calendar year. You can have an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com. That's become very, 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 very popular there. Once again, if you want to join us for the live stream on YouTube, you can do that on Monday nights at 7 Eastern time. Oh boy, just tons of content already up on SteelersDepot.com this morning. Several people chimed in about the length of the show and all, and people like it for the most part overall. So it's probably not going to change Going to be some 2-hour podcast in here moving forward. Go to iTunes and how about give us some nice reviews? It's been a while since we've been asking for people to go on iTunes and give us some reviews. I mean, if you must ding us for much stutter or whatnot or whatever, do what you have to do there. But appreciate some people going over to iTunes and filling out those replies there on top of it. So until Wednesday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.